So we are live, an interview one-on-one with candidate Diego Martinez. We were just talking about the polls with Gavin Newsom. There's a poll showing Newsom winning by 58%. I was explaining how that's interesting because there was a poll only a few days before showing him barely winning with 52% and showing 48% of the population supporting the initiative, which is within the standard margin of error for polls, of 2 to 3%. And when you look at some of the new polling, it's 4 to 5% is the standard margin of error, given the horrible predictions against Trump in 2016 and 2020, which showed that just a week ago, Newsom could have lost this, and then you had half the population supporting it. And then all of a sudden, here's a new poll going, oh, no, we didn't just mean he won. We meant he really, really won. And I find it very curious when a poll pops out of nowhere and says exactly what someone wants it to say at exactly the right time. It seems contrived. I can't prove that, but my dad taught me, what an incredible coincidence that everything just worked out perfectly. I don't believe in coincidences. So, before we start, I wanted to say something. We're not doing one-on-one debates, and we're not doing debates with the candidates anymore. We're doing these one-on-one interviews. And part of it was we wanted to focus on the candidates. We wanted to really give the voters an in-depth look at you. We've gotten a lot of success with that. But the other one is that I wanted to be able to be me and give my real opinion. And I didn't say this before, but I saw when you were at the Republican debate and you went up to Kevin Kiley and offered your hand, and he refused to shake your hand. I found that not sportsmanlike, unbecoming of a politician. You should shake everyone's hand in your own party. And I just questioned, because I looked at his staff, it's all white people. I looked at where he came from, it's exclusively white. And I'm going, a white guy.
Get into this.
I'm half white. My dad's white. I love white people. I think it's awesome. But I just found it interesting that a guy who surrounds himself with no minorities, who comes from a county with no minorities, refused to shake the hand of a Latino in a state where 45% of the people are Latinos. And I was personally offended by that.
You want to go down this rabbit hole, huh? All right.
You don't have to. I just you didn't have to respond. I just wanted to say that.
So let's just go here. It's
up to you.
I got attacked when Kevin Kiley first came on the scene, because I said this guy's not a good representation of the California people. He voted yes on the mail-in ballots. He voted yes on SB 9, SB 10, and he used the mail-in ballots after he voted yes as the reach of power to go after Gavin Newsom. I got attacked by another Republican saying, hey, Diego thinks this is against Kevin Kiley, not against Gavin Newsom. Well, first of all, let's get something straight. I never attacked anybody without real reason. And what people don't know about me and Kevin Kiley, we go back a ways. I met Kevin Kiley at a fundraiser for Kevin Kiley and Tom McClintock. Tom McClintock happens to be the congressman in my area. Kevin Kiley happened to be at the same event because he's the assemblyman for that. So I'll tell you the story, and then everybody can get their own judgment of Kevin Kiley.
Okay, let's hear it.
I got people that will confirm this story, so it's not a lie.
I believe you.
They were already serving dinner. I said, oh, there's Kevin Kiley. I'm going to go introduce myself. I had just announced that I was running. I go up to him. I said, Mr. Kiley, my name is Diego Martinez. He turned around and looked at me. I put out my hand. I said, I'm a candidate for governor of California. He turned around. He's all ambitious goals and turned his back on me. Right in front of everybody. You don't even know what it took for me not to kick his ass that day. Then I saw him again in San Jose at a Women's Federation lunch. I go stand right in front of him because he was having his book autographing. He wouldn't even talk to me. He looked the other way. That's Kevin Kiley for you.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good look in a diverse state like California at all. And I also find that to be unprofessional to not at least cordially interact with people in your same party. I've been in politics 10 years. You don't do that. So highly suspicious.
When we were at Pat Nixon's event, I was standing here. He's standing right here. Wouldn't even talk to me. I made him shake my hand when I walked up to the stage, and I said something not very nice to him when he shook my hand in front of everybody.
It bugged me. It bugged me as a Latino. I didn't think that was cool. And, I don't get to say these things during the debate because I have to be impartial, but I can say them now. And I noticed that. I didn't say anything for weeks because you can't jump on in. But not cool.
So that's why I don't care for him. I don't care for him as a person. Do I think he's a talented lawyer? I do, but I think he only picks the cases he thinks he can win. And all the cases that he's talking about that he won, they actually got overturned. So he really didn't win anything against Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom still has executive power, executive emergency order. So he's going on, we won. You didn't win anything. You got rejected on everything that you talked about. So anyways, that's a little bit about me and Kevin Kiley. So the person who attacked me should actually know the history about me and Kevin Kiley before you start running your mouth attacking me about what I'm doing.
Yeah, let me show you something real quick while you're here. Can you see this chart? It says San Diego Union Tribune.
Yep.
So I'm not doing this to rub anything in. Blah, blah, blah. You're not on the chart. I think you're awesome. But I did want to point out, Kevin Kiley refused to be part of our debates. I talked to him personally. I talked to his staff. He refused 4 times in a row. The 4 people who did better than him appeared in all of our debates. Isn't that interesting?
I think, and I'll say this, it's kind of like any other poll or debates. We usually tend to poll the people that watch our show, like in your case. Most of the people probably that you guys poll are people who know who Yes California is and people who have watched the show quite a bit.
I just found it interesting that the people who refused to be part of our debates did worse than many, many candidates who did better and showed on our debates. And, Kiley, I know, was a little bit worried about his appearance and image and wanted to be tightly controlled. Well, Kiley, it looks like not coming on the Yes California debates was bad for you. And people who did all did better than you. I just wanted to throw that out. Just,
I don't think he's going to do as good on the polls as everybody thinks he is. I think he came out really strong because he was somebody who was known. At that time, you had Faulkner, Koch, Jenner. So Kevin Kiley came in as a fresh air, right? Somebody who's in assembly. But I think once people started looking at his voting history and everything else about him, they actually backtracked what they were doing. People in his district, so if you're up north in his district, he's big in that area. He won his district very well. But outside of this, nobody really cared for him anymore. You also got to look that Kevin Kiley talks about the Second Amendment, never owned a gun in his life. He talks about SB 9 and SB 10, which are property and developing in zoning properties. He doesn't own a house. He talks about kids and schooling and school choice. Yeah, he is part of the legislation, the teachers' legislation in Sacramento that nobody knows about. So everything that he's fighting against, he's actually implementing. So you want to stop CRT training, you want to stop sexuality training, guess where it starts? In the legislation in Sacramento. Guess who's part of that committee? Kevin Kiley. Yeah, he never talks about it. He never lets it out. And nobody knows that. And so everybody gives him a skate. So you want to talk about school choice. Why don't you talk about the education what's being taught in our schools and actually rip that apart where every school will be a school choice for our kids. Charter schools and everything else are popping up because nobody cares enough about our public education, yet we're paying for it. You want to talk about school choice, sounds really good. How about this? Let's give the parents a voucher to send their kids to school. How about you stop with that bullshit and you make taxes affordable where people can live? Because if you give a parent a tax or a check every month, right? What happens is when the PG&Es do, when the rents do, when there's no food in the refrigerator, are you going to send your kids to school and you're going to pay their tuition? Or are you going to make sure you guys have a house and a place to live? Our kids' education will be third at that point.
Wow. I forgot to do, we just jumped right into it. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping. These are the one-on-one interviews with Yes California and candidates who appear before the ballot. We are reaching out to candidates who've already interacted with us. We're saying that we will do a one-on-one interview and we will distribute it to our network of 160,000. We will discuss equal time, whatever the candidate wants to discuss on any issue, as long as they're willing to have a conversation with us on the idea of California as a nation. They do not have to support the idea. They don't have to support the idea. They could oppose it. We just want to have a conversation, just a friendly conversation. Isn't that democracy, for people to discuss the possibilities through legal election processes in the future? So now that we got that done, Diego, I'm going to ask some questions to kind of tough questions to pull answers out of you. A lot of the candidates do very well with this. The first one I want to know is, I've watched a lot of the candidates. I met many of them. And a lot of them typically come from, civilian walks of life. They haven't necessarily been in politics. I know Ventresca was, Kylie was. There was a very few people who actually been in politics and got there. But I've noticed that you have very specific visions and a clear, coherent understanding of the policies that you don't like. Now, perhaps people can agree with you, perhaps they don't, but you seem to have a clear idea of problem X is caused by these policies, and therefore you would need to remove that. I don't see the coherence of understanding how we got to these problems in many of the other candidates, if they have not been in politics. Why is it that you don't have political background and yet seem to have a good grasp of policies and politics while most of the other candidates don't? What happened to you? How come you're so good at this?
I got a learning disability. That's going to set you back a little bit. So what happens is, no matter
it does. I was not expecting that.
What happens with me is, when I get into something, I get in at 100%, 110%. So when something doesn't make sense, why doesn't it make sense? Why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? So, I in my career, I also do private investigation. So when a policy didn't make sense, I have to go back and I got to know why. Why didn't it make sense? If you tell me something and it's not quite in my head the right way, it's like a puzzle. I got to go get the puzzle pieces to put it together, figure out what happened here. Why isn't this working? So when it comes to policies, it's the same way. Why is school not working? Okay, we can blame it on the teachers union, which is what everybody wants to do. But in reality, we have legislation who actually writes what is getting taught in school. Now, the teachers union is an easy target. That's why everybody targets them. The problem with the teachers union is they forgot about the student and they care more about the teachers. Well, we got to break that up. And in some cases, they don't even care about the teachers anymore. They care about the money. So when it comes to legislation, it's the same way. How do we get here? What happened? What took this to make it to go to this? Okay, if you want to stop this here, you got to come back to the root. The root was over here at the legislation that we wrote that protects in the middle. Well, we got to get that protection out of the middle. When we talk about Prop 47, it's a minor thing, but Prop 47 causes people to be able to get off jail, not do actually 47 and 109. They go hand in hand. One provides people who should be in prison to actually stay and do county time. 47 provides that the people who are minor offenders in county can get released, sign a release. So there's no real consequence for what they do. That also drives our homeless problem here in the state of California. That also draws our law enforcement problem. Now, those two laws cause your prison outreach right now, where we're releasing too many prisoners from prison, or trying to shut down prisons because they're not at full capacity, or they're not getting close to full capacity. So you see how everything goes hand in hand?
I do, but I've been a junkie in this game for 10 years. How do we get, one of the things that inspires me a little bit, and just to be fair, I don't agree with all your policies. Just so that people watching, I'm not giving him a sweetheart interview. I don't agree with everything he said. But one of the things that inspired me was, I just thought, if we had more Californians like you, who took the time to bury down the rabbit hole and figure out the policies, wow, would we have an educated voter network? I mean, and voters would have different ideas, but I talked to a lot of voters, and they just haven't done the amount of research. They haven't even figured it out on their own. They just go off what they're told on TV or what their official says and go, that must be true. And I keep thinking, you have a curious mind, and how do we get to where we have half the population have the curiosity and the interest in politics? Because I think whether you're Republican or a Democrat, we would be making better calls and having more functional democracy if we had more people who had the level of curiosity and interest that you did. If you were governor or speaking to the public right now, or maybe the youth, what would you say to the public to say, Here's how we get half of you. And you don't have to be a Republican. You don't have to be a Democrat. Get people interested, asking questions, thinking for themselves, calling out their officials with some sort of rough understanding. How do we make society like that? What would you say if you were governor and you had the power of God, or that ring from the Marvel movies where they got 5 diamonds and he just snaps his fingers? You're Thanos. You got the ring of power. You can snap your fingers. How do you get, and I want to be clear, this isn't about supporting Republicans or Democrats. This is about having people question and be informed. How do we get half the population to be informed and think for themselves?
It's not as hard as everybody thinks it is.
Tell me.
Okay, so here's the problem that we're having and we're facing, and we face time after time. You have policies that come online and they say very simple, yes or no. But what is supposed to be a no is a yes, and what's yes is supposed to be a no. Our legislation writes our policies way too complicated, and they don't write it in plain English. That's your first problem. Your second problem is there's no transparency. Nobody knew that SB 339 got signed the other day, which is taxing you per mile that you drive, which, take it back a year, it was your gas tax. Okay, so how do you get people involved? It's very simple. Me and you are having a discussion right now. I think Ronald Reagan did it the best, and I keep bringing up Ronald Reagan a lot. And the reason I think Ronald Reagan has brought it up the best was because Ronald Reagan showed me something different out of any other president that we've ever had. First of all, it's not about your party lines. Forget about party lines. Parties will get you to the game. That's it. Once you're in the game, it's you. Okay, my policies is Diego Martinez. I'm running as a Republican, but if I had a D in front of me, if I had a Democrat, still me. This is my policies. This is what I believe in. So forget about parties when you go to vote. And Ronald Reagan said it best. Both sides came together, and this is our best understanding for you. And we came together on this decision. We both agreed on this. We haven't had that since Ronald Reagan. It's well, the majority does this and the majority does that. How about sitting everybody in front like me and you are right now? We'll just have a third guy in the middle, which would be me. You have the left, you have the right, you have them talking about their policies, and people are watching it at home. When you come up to the House to represent your bill, you're presenting it to the California people, not just the rest of Congress, not the rest of the House or the Assembly. You have got to show it to the California people. You'd be a lot more interested if I said, hey, you might want to watch tomorrow because there's a bill, it's called SB 145, and it's talking about pedophiles and adults being able to have sex with minors at 10 years old. Would you watch? Yeah,
yes.
You'd be glued to that and find out what that policy was. But nobody ever informs the California people, so nobody wants to be informed. When you're informed is when it's too late. You're informed when you catch that 21-year-old in a room with your 15-year-old and you go try to prosecute him, and you can't because SB 145 protects him because he's under 10 years younger than or older than that young lady. Now you're like, where did this happen? How did this happen? The problem is we don't give the public enough information and want to hook them into wanting to watch the show. Think about government as a reality show. Reality TV. And really it is. How many movies do they make about presidents, governors, CIA, FBI, and all this stuff? Imagine that being at the Capitol of Sacramento every day, a reality show. Because that's what it is. It's a reality. This is our life. And everybody should know what the hell's going on. Everybody should. And somebody said, oh, Congress should wear a live cam. No, they should be in front of a camera every day. They should be there showing that they're working. Why? Because you're their boss and you have the right to inspect that. You don't believe me? Go to your boss's office right there. I bet you he's walked around your cubicle 20 times wondering what the heck you're doing all day because he's spending his money on keeping you there, making sure his company grows. But we don't take our employees to that effect. We expect them to do what they're supposed to be doing. That's how come we're in the problem that we're in. We, the California people, have failed ourselves, and we have let our employees run wild and do whatever they wanted to do and collect the check.
Again, I like John Drake because he's young. I like Zio Zaki because he was young. Those guys are Republican and Democrat. I like you because you have the energy and the enthusiasm. And look, you don't have to agree with everyone's policies, but damn it, we need more people jumping in our democracy who are not bought and paid for and have new ideas. And I love seeing that. Let me ask you a question though. Not to zero in too much, but you're Latino.
I haven't noticed.
Gavin Newsom has, I could tell. Gavin Newsom has recently exclaimed in shock, along with the Democratic Party, that they might not get all the Latino vote to be against the recall. In fact, you have many high-ranking California Democrats acting exasperated. How come all these, Latin people didn't just do what we told them? How come some of them are for the recall? How come some of them don't necessarily like Newsom? But I think the bigger question is, how come the California Democratic Party got caught off guard, understanding what 45% of the voting base was thinking? How come the California Democratic Party got it so wrong about where Latinos are when we're damn near half the population? How could they get this so wrong, sir, in your opinion?
It's very simple.
Tell me.
We have finally had a Latino out here talking about Latino pride and what we need to do. I'm probably the only one that is actually fully bilingual that's actually running for office right now. Not only that, I'm the only immigrant, as far as I know, that is running. So when you start going to flea markets and you start talking to people and you start asking them questions, because this is what it is. The funny thing is about Hispanics, and I'll tell you right now, is ¿con quién estás? ¿Sos republicano o demócrata? I say this, antes que te diga, vamos a hablar un poco y después te digo qué partido juego. See, because they're already programmed that's one part or the other.
Right.
If you say I'm a Republican, Donald Trump, I'm out of here.
Right.
Okay, so that was my first. I stopped doing that. The first thing I said is, let me tell you, let's talk before you worry about my party, because my party doesn't matter. If you like me, you'll like what I stand for. If you don't, you're not going to. So then I asked them this. Do you know what SB 145 is? They said, no. What is it? And then they tell you this. Whatever happens over there doesn't affect us. I said, I know. Do you know what SB 145 is? And then I explained to them, it's protecting a pedophile. And they look at you and go, what? How come I didn't know that? Univision didn't tell me. Telemundo didn't tell me. I said, I know, right? But it doesn't affect you what they do there. I said, these bills that's happening every day here in California affect you and me. We just don't see it because it doesn't affect us today. But if you have a cousin, you have an aunt, you have a sister, you have a daughter or granddaughter, SB 145 affects each and every single one of us. And you know who put that law in order? Los Democratas. And they look at you, what? And I said, yeah, I'm a Republican. But the Democrats are the majority leader. They're the ones doing this to you. Not only that, did you go to church on Sunday? No, I couldn't. It's closed. I said the Democrats did that to you too.
Ooh.
So when you put it in that way, people understand what you're talking about. And I told them this, don't worry about my party because my party doesn't matter. This is DIEGO Martinez. These are my policies. This is where I stand, and this is where I come from, and this is where I'm headed. And with your help, I can get there, and we can actually have a real Hispanic voice in Sacramento for us for once, because we don't. We do not have a Hispanic in the Republican Party in Sacramento representing us.
But Diego, we have many Latinos elected to office who talk about how they love Newsom and he does everything perfect. I remember reading one from Padilla, who was an appointee by what? You're not approved?
Come on. Really? You're talking about Eric Padilla. Alex Padilla, sorry.
Alex Padilla.
Alex Padilla, the guy that got given the senator seat?
Yeah, he wrote an email saying out of his
I would love Newsom too. I would love Newsom too if he put me up to be the senator. Because first of all, I'll give Alex this. The first Hispanic senator from the state of California.
True.
He's the first. What took so damn long? We are 45% of the people in California, and it took a Democrat to appoint a Hispanic into office. Do you see why Hispanics do not like the Republican Party? Because we're good to show up to serve the dinner. We're good to clean up the dinner. We're good to wash the dishes, park their cars, mow their lawns. But when it comes to sit at the dinner table, no, it's somebody else's turn today. We're out of seats. You got to wait till tomorrow, Julio. That's the problem with the Republican Party. Tell me why my face hasn't been on Univision, Telemundo, or any of the Hispanic Latinos broadcasts unless I paid for it. Because if a Latino's trying to get ahead in the Republican Party, forget it. That's not going to happen. Now, how many actually people knew that Alex Padilla is the first Hispanic to ever hit the Senate in the California history? Nobody. Why? Because it's a Hispanic and nobody wants to know. But when Barack Obama became the president of the United States, everybody and their grandmother had to know he was the first African American to be president. But we're a racist country.
There's a lot there.
Sorry.
There's a lot there. No, you're right. You're right. A lot of what you're saying is just straight on. Like, why I have long felt this, that even though there's a lot of Latino representation in Sacramento, it seemed very much to be a, hey, we're looking for some Latin person in Farmersville to run. So the Democratic Party or maybe the Republican Party comes down and goes, you look good. We'll give you money, but we're going to tell you what to say, tell you how to act, tell you how to package it. And then see, you won an office. And then I see all these Latinos in Sacramento, and they are literally cookie cutters of each other. And they literally have no independent thought. And they literally say whatever the Democratic Party wants them to say. And when I see the poll showing, Newsom did not connect with Latin voters, and Latin voters were upset about the shutdowns. And the Democratic Party's completely caught with their pants down. Just what? And I'm like, if you have all these Latin people in the Democratic Party, but you didn't see this coming, those Latin people ain't at the dinner table. They're serving dinner, but you ain't asking their opinion. That's why you're so damn ignorant. I mean, am I wrong? Does that just make sense to you, or what's up?
I think it's both parties. I think they use us to get our votes, to get people from our neighborhoods to vote for them. But after that, they throw you aside. They'll throw you a bone. You know what I've been told? You got to run for assembly. As a matter of fact, don't even run for assembly. Go for city council or go be a superintendent somewhere. You're not good enough to run for governor. Larry Elder doesn't have to debate you. You're not good enough. I said, you know what your problem is? When you think that somebody who's going to lead you is not good enough to talk to you, you're the problem. Because you're not good enough to talk to them. Because there is nobody on this damn planet that isn't good enough to talk to me or debate with me. And I would never feel that way. I remember telling people this. You can come to the Capitol and protest. I'm going to be right there and I'm going to answer your protest. As a matter of fact, we'll probably cater lunch for you so we can sit down and have a good discussion, because I actually accept people not liking what I got to say. I accept people telling me, hey, you're doing us wrong because I'm serving you. The California people are my bosses. So I have got to stand there and take the criticism from both sides. I've been told so many times in my life, you're not good enough. You're not this, you're not that. You know what? That's what CRT training is. And that's what they're teaching our kids. It's wrong. The only person that can tell me I'm not good enough for somebody is myself. I look in the mirror every day and I can say, you're not good enough. No, I am good enough. And I deserve to be here, and I deserve to be in Sacramento. And I deserve to leave California, and I will. Whether it happens in this recall, it happens in 2022, I learned so much in this recall race, it won't happen to me again. And you will see me on the news. You will see me on television. I will find the money. Doesn't matter where it comes from. I will get it, and I will be there. And I will show everybody who came into this country with a dream to be somebody that you can be. That's what we left our land. Because where I grew up, where I was born, you were either poor or you were rich. There's no in between. America's the greatest country in the world, and I wish people that were American, that grew up here, that were born here, would take that pride and stand up, because this is the greatest country in the world, and this state has given me everything I've ever had. And you hear me talk about Ronald Reagan a lot. Ronald Reagan wasn't the greatest president in a lot of people's eyes. He made a lot of mistakes. But to me, he made a lifetime of a difference. He helped my family be able to get our papers a lot easier than it would have been, and a lot more affordable than anything else. And I am forever grateful for that. And I want to be able to pay that forward to the next generation of people who want an American dream, who want to be able to come here and be successful. I, my brothers and sisters, and many others are the living proof of what the American dream is and what hard work looks like. If you just come here to go to work, don't get a handout from the government, do not take their money, but actually focus on what it is.
John Freeman, how you doing? Just getting some comments coming in. If everyone, I have to say, and I'm speaking directly to the people watching this video, if you don't have to like this man's policies, but I would implore everyone in California to look at his spirit. He came into this on his own, became a policy expert on his own, is able to debate everybody on his own, and he is not having any of this garbage that I routinely hear of. Well, you don't have $1 million, so why don't you just let the rich people run and, take a back seat? That's called oligarchy. And whenever I hear reasonable voters say that, you realize you're taking a big fat dump on democracy and saying, don't even try. And you're proponenting oligarchy, which is the way that Russia, a failed state, democratically operates. Why are you suggesting oligarchy for here in California? Well, I didn't mean that. I just was realistic. Right. And when you tell immigrants and the youth, don't even try, that leaves it to only rich white people. And one of the things that got me very curious was this election was Newsom, Cox, Jenner. I think you can see where Faulkner, male, white, privileged, isolated. Jenner's a female now, and that's awesome, and I totally support her choice. That's great. But rich, Caucasian, isolated, famous people are about 7% of the population, and that includes the governor and the top candidates against them, I guess, elders, African American. But you see a pattern. It's the year 2021. Why is it that we're in California, the most diverse place in America, possibly the planet, and all of our top candidates are from one tiny demographic for almost this entire race that 95% of California doesn't look like and will never know? How does that happen in 2021 in California? I thought we backed diversity here.
Show me. Because if I would have listened to everybody, I would have been out a long time ago. I would have never even ran. I had good friends. Okay, we used to ride together. I ride motorcycles. Everybody knows that. I'm just as common as everybody else. I was out on a run one day, and I told my buddy, I'm going to run for governor. He laughed at me. He said, don't. You won't win. He said, I'll support you if you want to do it, but you're not going to win. You don't have enough money. I said, it doesn't take money to win. I said, Abraham Lincoln was fucking broke when he ran. He didn't have no money. All those people didn't have no money when they ran. They didn't have money when they died. They only had their government salaries. How did they do it? I said, how did they go out? I said, you know how you do it? You get on the road and you go from county to county. You talk to everybody and you go 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 and you put in the work. And if you put in the work, you're going to get the results that you expect. And that's how you do it. That's how I did it. I put 80,000 miles on one car and I got 30,000 on the other. And who knows on my other cars how many miles I got. But you know what? Everybody expects me not to have money. It was funny. We did our tax returns, right? I make one of the top 5 out of the people that put their tax returns there. My business, I just don't flaunt it. I don't put it in my campaign account. Doesn't have $1 million, but I don't go flaunting what I make. I work for a living just like everybody else. The average person made $150,000. So the average person on the campaign, you could go back in their taxes and see. So I was like, what are they talking about money? We all almost make the same amount. Why is it that they're better than me? You know why? Because they're white and people want to support white people. Because the Hispanic crowd, those Latinos, we haven't woken up yet and say, hey, we're getting left behind on everything that's going on. Because if I could get the Latino votes, we can have 3 parties here. You can have the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the Latino Party. And the Latino Party is going to be the strongest out of all of them. But see, Latinos fall into the same problem. We have Latino organizations that were backing me, and all of a sudden somebody else with a Hispanic last name that doesn't speak Spanish comes in the picture. Oh my God, he has money. Let's go over here. He has a better chance of winning. No, he doesn't. He'll end up less than I did on the polls. I'm going to surprise everybody where I end up on the polls. I think we have a great shot to shocking California and be ready to run for 2022 with a lot more momentum and a lot more skills. If you've never ran for a campaign before and you did it like I did, you make mistakes. Thank goodness I started in March of 2020 so that I could actually make the mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and be right on track to where we're going to be now. I made one final mistake last January. I hired the wrong campaign manager. That person took me to where I could be, but didn't do much else. But Guess what? I met a lot of people. I know a lot more than what I did, and I know I won't make that mistake again. But everybody says, well, you're a business owner. How many people have you hired? This is a whole different world. You get into politics, you don't know who's good, who's bad. And the people that are really good, they're $40,000, $50,000 a month. Come on, let's be real here. I know you get what you paid for, but at the same time, generous people are a lot of money, and they disappeared. They're not even around. I think I got more momentum than Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner. I think I got more momentum than John Cox, who goes around with a bear and garbage.
Caitlyn Jenner. We don't want a dead name. We have a lot of Californians watching. That's fine. Just keep going. I just need
what was that? Sorry.
We don't want to dead name, so we only refer to candidate Jenner as Caitlyn Jenner.
Okay. I said Bruce or Caitlyn. I don't know, but
we prefer strictly Caitlyn here, but that's fine.
So
let's move on.
Let me clear this up real quick. I have nothing against her at all. I think it's great that she actually put herself in the race, to put herself out there like that. Okay. So I have nothing against her, but she has a lot of high quality people on her campaign, but she disappeared. You haven't really heard of her. You haven't really seen her. So it's not always about the money and the money that you spend on your campaign staff. It's the quality of your campaign staff and the heart that they have. I remember doing this, and somebody wanted to be my campaign manager. I told them my beliefs, and they said, well, I said, thank you. Doesn't matter, because if you don't believe in what I believe, we're not going to work together. I don't care how much money I have to pay, how good you are. If you don't believe in me, we're not going to win. So,
I've seen 3 candidates say the same thing as you. I've personally met and talked with 3 candidates who said privately they've sunk about $40,000 to $50,000 into their campaign managers and didn't know what they were getting, and then eventually fired them. So you're the 4th person I've heard where you spend all this money and you barely get any sort of service, and you don't know it until it's too late in, because they're the experts in the game. And I don't know if they're intentionally trying to trick people or whatever, but that goes a lot. A lot of people spend a lot of money on campaign managers and not really getting good service. I saw that a lot.
A lot of it is we don't know better.
Right. And they know you don't.
A couple of the people I hired, basically they said, I could do this, this, and this. And my first thing is, I said, we need fundraising. We could do all that. We have a team. As the months go by, it's next month is a better time. Next month. And it finally came to, we don't have another month. We're done. As a business person, I had to take a business look at it and say, this is where we have got to separate ways, because I don't have another month. Whether I have the money to pay you or not, that doesn't mean anything. The money I'm using to pay you, I could be using for commercials. I could be using to expose myself. I could be using to get out there. I could be using to travel. There's a million different things. I couch surf when I go out of town. I stay at cheap motels. I drive back every day. I could do the LA drive up from LA North in a day. Now it doesn't bother me. I went up to Eureka, came back the same day. Why?
Woo!
That cut costs. That costs your cost. And when you're looking at a business, it's not that I can't afford to stay at a hotel, but that $100 or $50 or whatever you're going to spend on that hotel could pay for something else down the road. It could pay for an advertisement on Facebook. It could pay for this. It could pay for that. You cannot expect to run like you're a millionaire and think that you're even successful, because even millionaires have X amount they got to spend. To put ads on television was over $80,000. So where do you get that money from? Well, you can't be staying at hotels. You can't be eating at the fanciest places in town. You take your water, you take your stuff, and you choose where you do or you don't. I don't need to show anybody I have money. What I need to show people is that I can lead California, and I am the best leader. Why? Because I know how to budget. I know how to put our money to the best. I know how to lead people, and I know where the problems are. And here are my solutions. Just like you said, you don't have to like all my policies. But I tell you what, if we sat down and talked and you said, hey, this policy of yours I don't like because of this, this, and this. Okay, how do you want to tweak it? That's the difference between me and everybody else. It's not what I say. It's not always right. I have a game plan. You're going to tell me your portion of the game plan and how it fits in.
I just real quick have to say that, yeah, absolutely. Stevante Clark, who's the brother of Stephon Clark, who was slain by Sacramento police, and is the top Black Lives Matter leader up there. I went up there to Sacramento once to support an event he had, and we started talking. We were hanging out, and he looks at me, he goes, the thing with Mexicans? And he goes, is it cool if I say this? And I go, It's fine, dude. Just say it. And he goes, y'all too humble. You're way too humble. You could have so much more if you complain more, and you're just too humble and too willing to put up with it. And Diego, I feel that's what you said today. So I find it interesting. Two different people who, he's African American, but he doesn't have a problem with Latinos. He's having a halfway house, and that place is half full with Latin kids and half full with Black kids. And I mad respect to him. He's trying to help all wayward youth and give them a better chance so they don't end up like his brother. Respect to the I Am SAC Foundation. But I found his analysis coming from the outside, not as a Latino, very accurate. I was like, we are too humble. We just kind of take it and go, well, just work hard and try harder tomorrow. And I think if we had more Latinos like you, who are like, no, wrong, not putting up with it, go ahead and try to shut me up, I wonder if we'd have a lot more things going our way in this state. I just wonder if we were a little bit more complainy and protesty and no, it's not okay to do that, if we'd be getting a lot more. What say you, sir?
I think we got taught a little bit different as growing up. If the cops brought me home, my mom would take the cop and then beat my ass. Or tell the cop, wait a minute, he's going to go with you after I kick his ass. Then
Yeah, I heard that.
We got brought up to respect. We got brought up to work hard, not complain about what we've been given, and be thankful for the opportunities that we're given, period. Okay? True. I know people that work at the flea market that sell fruits there all the time, 1 week to the next week to the next week. They're grateful to be able to be there, pay their $20 for the spot, and be able to go and sell their products, be able to go home and feed their kids. That's us. But we're getting taken advantage of at the same hand when it comes to legislation and it comes to everything else. So we need a voice that will speak in our behalf. Latinos, we're scared. We don't want to admit it. We're proudful people, but we're scared. We're scared that we're going to get deported tomorrow if we say the wrong thing, if we stand up. If my kids go out and protest, oh my God, what's the neighbors going to think? What's going to happen? Somebody's going to call immigration. Your tío, your tía, your abuela, we're all
right, gone
with you.
Yeah.
Our younger generation say, Mom, I'm an American citizen. And sometimes the parents or grandparents want to say, you are, but I'm not. So you go out there and you go do this, I won't be here. And I think that's part of the problem. And that's why my immigration reform program, I know not a lot of people agree with it, but it's the right and the fair thing to do. And it's equal justice to a system that's been broken since 1985. Again, I'm thankful for Ronald Reagan, but it was one of the best things he did, but one of the worst things he did for immigration in general, because the Democrats did not keep their portion and their part of the deal. All this could have been solved back then, but the Democrats did not do their portion. So reforming immigration with a state level in the state of California and fixing it is the right thing to do, and it's about time somebody does it.
Nicola Sturgeon, Scotland. That's a fan from Scotland. By the way, you have the Scottish vote. So, Diego, I don't know if you were aiming to get the people of Scotland to like you, but we have some Scottish people who are watching this. They think you're great. And if you don't win this race, they're asking you to move to Scotland and run for prime minister. So just an option there. It's still an English-speaking country. You'll have to pick up kind of a brogue, like, but a little bit of an accent. I think you could do very well. Do you play the bagpipes, sir? Are you good at golf?
I'm good at golf. Well, I was at one time. I don't golf anymore. You know what happened with golf? It's hitting that little white ball in that little hole. It wasn't relaxing anymore. It got to be stressful when you try to be competitive at playing golf.
Whoo, I talked to my stepdad when he comes home from a bad golf game, and you could just okay. Okay. I thought it was relaxed. Never mind, dude. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My mom
there's no relaxing in it. When you want to become competitive about it.
And he is.
I put the clubs up. I go hit every now and then when somebody wants to go, oh, you golf? I'm like, yeah. I'll go out there, have a good time, but I'm not going to try to be like straight down the fairway the whole time. And the best thing, you know what? If it takes me 100 hits to get the damn ball in there, it took me 100 hits to get the ball in there.
Well, the people of Scotland, you heard it here first at Yes, California. Diego Martinez is decent at golf. He didn't balk at the idea of learning bagpipes. Perhaps he could be a candidate for prime minister after Sturgeon steps down. I'm going to ask you a tough question, but first I'm going to give you a compliment. I criticized some candidates at a debate a few weeks ago because we were having an interview and there were some candidates on, and then somebody came on the feed and promoted another candidate who wasn't in the debate. And I go, I asked that candidate to come out to debate and they refused. And then you're going to go into a debate and promote that candidate who can't even go to debates. I really have no respect for people running for office who can't meet the public wherever they are. And I look at the Elder campaign, I look at the Kiley campaign, the Cox campaign, the Jenner campaign, the Newsom campaign. It's all staged. They don't actually go surround themselves with the public and go, I don't know where you're at. I'm going to meet you and see where it goes. Maybe it goes perfect. Maybe I'm in a tough spot. I'll dig myself out. It's all staged. Friendly audience, filtered, speaking directly to kind of maybe choice questions. I respect the people who jumped in and said, I don't know. Maybe I don't agree with these voters. Maybe I'm not going to tell them what they want to hear, but I think it's my job to talk to them. Even if I disagree, I respect that. I don't see any of the top candidates that the media claims doing that, but I see a lot of common Californians like yourself doing that. And I just wanted to compliment you and say, folks watching, this is what a real candidate does. They go meet folks. They go talk. They actually talk to people they disagree with. And they're able to do this thing called build connection. So even if you go meet people who you disagree with, you're able to explain your ideas and get them to go. And you strike me as the guy who can do that, Diego, that maybe they didn't say, oh, I love every plan you had, but they could have a real conversation with you and you'd get in their head and make them think twice about a few ideas. That's successful politics. And I hats off to you, sir, for that. Now, a tough question. This is going to be a tough one. I saw during the debate that you were supportive of some policies by the, previous president. But then you also said something that I really found very progressive, which is, get over this daydream that you're going to round up all the undocumented and kick them out. It's not going to happen. And you were just very bold-faced. I don't see many conservatives, even Latinos, say it like that. They're usually all in on every single thing Trump said, or they're all against Trump. You seem to be walking a middle ground going, Trump had a couple things. You've got to have a secure border. We can't just have open borders. But folks, get over this, this wet fantasy that you're going to round up 2.3 million Mexicans and kick them out, maybe 400,000 Chinese. Why are you walking a middle ground? How come you aren't all for Trump or all against him, as I see almost every other Latino? Why are you taking a nuanced stance, and is it difficult to do that?
I'm Diego Martinez. I have my own opinion. I don't follow everybody else's. I don't walk under the rhythm or the drumbeat of somebody else. I agree with Donald Trump on some stuff, and I disagree with him on some stuff. I disagreed when he called Judge Garcia another Mexican. He's Mexican. That's why he's looking at my cases. That's why he shouldn't. I disagree with that. That bothered me. I agree with Trump when he talked about the DACA program and how we needed to fix it, because Trump actually saw something that I've been saying for time now. DACA programs of false security to a bunch of young Hispanic Americans who are here, and it got them absolutely no in-game to it. Now, the federal judge just says against the law, they got to remove it. Now you got 10 million undocumented young adults on the list with their addresses. Not just them, it's their families now that are going to suffer. It's that chain line. I've been saying that, and Trump said it. And when I listened to Trump say that, I understood. And I went back and did some research, of course. How's this not possible? Now, here's the reality is, there are over 20 million illegal immigrants in the United States. You cannot deport these people. It has been tried before. See, people forget about history. Let's talk a little bit about history. After World War II, the United States government had a pact with the railroad. Every Hispanic that they put on a train and sent to the middle of Mexico was $13 a head. Guess what? You were a U.S. citizen. You looked Hispanic, you talk Spanish, you're on the train. They didn't care. That happened.
You went back.
Okay? Yeah. We could go back to Cesar Chavez. It's all the same thing. Here's the reality is, you deport people, they come back. They figure out a different way to come back. You make it legal. and you make it right, now you give them an opportunity to be here the right way. And the ones that don't want to be here the right way, they're going to leave. Now, people get upset with me when I say I want to build the border. Understand this: the border is not to keep illegal people out, because they figure out how to come back. It's to keep human trafficking,
Right.
trafficking to coming out from the other parts where nobody's watching. It's about keeping the drug cartels out of that area, blocking that area up, funneling people through the right doors. Now, legal immigration can be done and it can be accomplished. But first of all, somebody has to take a stand on it, and that person is me. And I've been criticized by Republicans. I've been criticized by Democrats. I've been criticized by Hispanics. I've been called a racist because I say, you know what? Yes, I'll get you a 4-year work permit in the state of California only, but you're not getting insurance. You're not getting money free, and you're not getting a sanctuary state that shouldn't exist. Come here, do your job, come earn and show that you deserve to be here. By 4 years, you have shown the federal government that you have earned the right to be here. And if you haven't, there's the door, use it. But to say that we're going to go and deport everybody, that's a pipe dream that will never happen, because there's anchor babies here, there's kids here, and they will fight a legal way, and human rights in this country will not allow it to happen. So quit with the pipe dream and let's find a real solution for the real problem. Because once you get it legal, then people can start funneling in through the right front door and doing it the right way.
You might be the right Republican for the message. There was a mantra for the last 40 years of only Nixon could go to China, meaning that Nixon was such a rabid anti-communist that he was the only one that would get the Republican credibility to go and make peace with the Chinese, because they wouldn't go, well, he's secretly a communist. Like, nobody thought that about Nixon. And then he was able to go and do things like shut down the Vietnam War and stop the train killing a bunch of Americans. And it was only because he took such a extreme stance. Your policy makes me seem like you might be the Republican who can say, look, we're not going to round up all these people. We're not going to kick them out. We're going to have to work with them. But border security is a real issue. The cartels bringing people in is a real issue. Human trafficking of young girls is a real issue. And the cartels and human traffickers are monsters who deserve no love from any Latinos. What we're talking about is hardworking folks who want to come in and make a better life in America. You can keep the scumbags, and we're fine with them going to prison or being shot. I don't care. And I think as a Latino, we agree on that. And that's the stereotype, is they think a lot of Latinos who are tolerant of undocumented immigration think that it's fine that cartels come over and human trafficking, and nothing could be more opposite. I'm disgusted by the cartels. I'm disgusted by human trafficking. And I want some way to separate those bad apples from the millions of people who are willing to work hard and play by the rules. And I think that's where you're coming from, and you might have the ability to get that message out because you are walking a middle line. What do you say?
It's not a middle line. It's a stance line. It's where you stand, and that's what defines you from somebody else. I don't wager this just because President Trump was president. He did a lot of mistakes. I said this before. The President Trump that I voted for in 2016 was not the same man I voted for in 2020. Life goes on. But we have to worry about California. I actually was a little disappointed. If you guys are Trump fans, I'm sorry with what I'm going to say next. I believe that Trump failed the California people by not coming out here, not putting the rallies he deserved, not paying us the respect that we paid him every week, coming out here and going to Trump rallies and supporting him. We did not get the same support from Donald Trump that we should. I feel the Republican Party has failed the California people on this recall, because we do not have one elected official that sits in the Republican Party that's out here talking yes on the recall. And you know what? If we lose this recall, it's not because there's 48 candidates. It's because the Republican Party did not stand together and help the California people. And guess what? The Democrats outworked us.
That's not something I see most Republicans saying. That's certainly a nuanced stance and makes you very different and unique. And that's what you need to be if you're running for office. Why am I not considering other options?
A lot of people aren't going to say what I'm going to say, but a lot of people feel the exact same thing I'm going to say. You show me where Donald Trump came here and campaigned as president. I know of one fundraiser that he did. I know that he came and talked to Gavin Newsom when the fires were going, but that was it. Yet you go to Nevada, you go to any other state, and Donald Trump was there doing the free rallies for everybody. California has 55 votes for the presidency. 55. Fight. Damn it. Fight for us. That's what we don't have.
Okay. We're going to go to, I'm going to let you have a 1.5 minute statement, and then we're going to go to the big question about California's future. So before we go to the big question about California's future, and you can agree, disagree, whatever, we just want to have a logical dialogue. Here's the question I'm asking all the candidates. You and I go into a cigar store. It could be whatever. And I'm buying a nice cigar. And you look at my cigar and you go, hey, that's nice. And you have my attention for 1.5 minutes. What would you tell me, a total stranger, to get me to vote for you? And you only have 1.5 minutes, and we've never met before. How do you convince me, sir?
I don't need to convince you. See, that's where everybody makes a mistake. I got a phone call the other day. I was on my way to LA, and this man said, convince me to vote no on the recall. I said, I don't need to. I don't need to convince you anything. You're already convinced. Otherwise, you wouldn't have picked up the phone. But at least I appreciate why you picked up the phone. If you want a better future, if you want lower taxes, if you want somebody who you can actually sit here, have a cigar with and talk to, then you need to look at my page and you need to see what I stand for. And don't worry about the party lines because both parties have failed the California people. Take a look at me, and if you can agree with 80% of what I got to do, let's talk. Then I'll show you the real reason why you should really vote for me. But my job is not to convince you to make a difference. My job is to show you what I'm about and see if we agree on the same subjects.
That was good. That was good. I'm not endorsing you. I'm not agreeing, but that was pretty smooth. Pretty well done. Well packaged. You have learned a lot. Okay, we're going to go to the big question now. You don't have to agree. You can disagree. If California wanted to become a nation, bad idea, good idea, horrible idea? What do you think?
I think that first we need to fix California. We need to be self-independent away from federal government. I believe that we need to keep fracking. I think that we need to have more than one source of energy, and the Green Party or the Green Power energy isn't the only way we need to go. I believe that we need to bring desalination plants back into California and act them up so we don't have a water problem anywhere. And I believe that if the United States of America got bad enough, I would push for one nation, just like the same way that Texas would. California is big enough to be its own country, and we have the resources to be self-maintained. We could divide California into 8 different states if we really wanted to. The reality is, do we really want to do that, or do we actually want to be able to have our infrastructure and everything in line to be self-sustained in case that ever did happen?
Interesting. So you're saying, hey, let's move on being more independent from the federal government, even if it's not a full break. And one of the top things we need to do is infrastructure, water, power, electricity, the things that it would take to run a nation. Let's go ahead and start building that independence infrastructure now. Is that a fair summary?
That's exactly what I'm saying. See, we have to deregulate California to bring manufacturing and jobs back here, lower our cost of making a living. You can actually, and I know people don't understand this when I talk about immigration and why it's so important to do the immigration reform program. But if you get 10 million people to pay their fair share of taxes that are right now taking away from what everybody's paying, you can actually have enough revenue to lower everybody's taxes, have enough revenue to actually fix your infrastructure, and have a healthier California where everybody's happier to live. Then work, infrastructure, your power, your water, all that comes together. You're your own nation under God, but you're part of the United States of America. But if it ever came back where our president or anybody actually and got way out of hand, we can protect ourselves, we can take care of ourselves, and we can actually separate from the United States of America, just like Texas will do.
So if there's a legal vote, Californians say, hey, we got our power grid and our water grid up, and we had a legal, peaceful vote, certified, totally peaceful, total legal, maybe a couple cursing and TV ads, but legal, peaceful, and 60% of Californians said, we want to become separate from America. You're the governor at that time. Would you at least be willing to attempt to follow the will of the people?
I will take the will of the people and I will abide by the law and I will do exactly what the California people want. Even though I know as an immigrant I will not be able to be the president, it doesn't matter. It's not about me, it's about California and the California people, what's best for our state and our country.
The other question is, Is it fair to say that a lot of America doesn't really like California? There's like many states that talk garbage on us, don't really talk well about us, and kind of wouldn't be too upset if we left? Is that a fair summary? Do you think there's maybe 25, 35 states that they just really don't like how we do things out here, and they would not be that upset if we left? How do you feel?
I believe that we have states that probably don't like California. I got a lot of Californians that don't like California right now. But I believe that once we change California around, we make California prosperous in a place where people want to come and visit and spend their money again and make them feel safe, because our safety here in California is really on the bricks. I think if we do that, people want to come back here and say, yes, I love California. I love going there for vacation. And I wish I would have never left California, because they actually did what they're supposed to. They made a livable, flexible state for us to be able to grow our families.
The Scottish people, as we've been talking about, and you've impressed a lot of Scottish people here. So I was going to try to do Diego Martinez in a Scottish accent, but I'm not even going to try. They had a commission in 2009 where they ordered the government of Scotland, the Scottish people said, we might want to become independent from England. But how do we do that? What do we do to get ready? How do we know it's even possible? What are the pitfalls and the problems? So they ordered their government to do a commission. And they created a 200-page report. It took them about a year and a half. They interviewed all the politicians down to working moms. So regular Scots, academics, police, military, generals, politicians, and they put it all in a report. And they go, here you go, Scotland. If we were going to be independent, here's what it looks like. And the report was roughly seen as fair. They were not ready on a couple things. On other things, they were doing great. On certain things, they're going to need some improvement. On others, they were already set up. So it was a mixed bag. Within 5 years, they pushed for a vote for independence and almost passed that vote. Would it be fair for Californians to have their government publish a report where they honestly look into this and just report the pitfalls and the opportunities? Is that a okay thing for the California government to do?
I think it's fair to say that we could do that, but you have enough people already with New California, the state of Jefferson, that want to divide California. They want to divide it today. What they are missing is the one key opponent. They never put it on the ballot, and they never got the majority of the California people to agree to it. So before you do anything, you have got to get Californians to stand behind it and say, yes, let's move forward and let's see if this makes sense. Let's move forward and see if we should be able to do this. But before you even go that way, you want to build your infrastructure. You want to know that if everybody in California said, yes, we want to go ahead and do this, we have everything that we need to be a self-sustained state, country, or whatever you want.
That's awesome.
You know, you don't ever want to go to war.
No.
You don't ever want to fight for your freedom because people have already died for it. But in California right now, we need to fight for our liberties in the Constitution of the United States. If we don't start fighting for this, it's just a piece of paper it got written on. Our Second Amendment, our First Amendment, we saw with President Trump how he took his First Amendment rights away from Twitter, Facebook, and nobody did anything about it. Your Second Amendment, your Eighth Amendment, which is the bail, freedom of bail, that got every one of these issues has been brought up in legislation to try to get rid of them. It's not about whether you believe in the Second Amendment. It's not about whether you believe in gun rights. It's your rights that you're giving up. You think you're giving somebody else's right to own a gun, but you're giving your own freedom rights. And that's what they're trying to get Democrats to do. Disagree with all these rights that people have, but they don't understand that they're sucking their rights away. You will no longer have the right to speak. You will no longer have the right to go anywhere. That's why we need to fight for our state.
This is the website where you can find more. It's DiegoMartinezForGovernor.com. We have the link up for the policy issues where you can see candidate Martinez policy. Let's show you the website here real quick. is the Diego Martinez thing. You can get involved, join the team. You can find out Diego's life story. You can also see each policy that the candidate has, what his stance on everything is. Wow, there's a lot to this. There's the event calendar to find out more about him. And then finally, we have my favorite, the Vision for California, where he breaks it down. So check him out at Diego Martinez for Governor. And there's more contact information. Diego, 2-minute closing statement. Anything you'd like to say? How would you like to be remembered and thought about in the last few days of your campaign? In 2 minutes, sir.
Well, the last few days of this re-election campaign, I want everybody to understand that I am about the California people. I'm a worker. I go to work every day. When the tax bill passed and their charges more for gas, I understand what it's like to pay $5.50 a gallon. SB 145 really hit me because I have young kids. I have granddaughters. The transgender that's being taught in our schools really hit me because of my granddaughter. We're being misled by career politicians. And if anything you want to know about me is that I'll speak the truth. I'll stand in front of you whether I like what you have to say or not. I won't be rude or obnoxious about it, and I'll respect your opinions. If you want to make a change in California, change the way you think, change the way you vote. It's not about money. It's not about who's the most popular. It's about the person who's going to serve California best. And I believe that whether we do it in the recall, whether we do it in 2022, I am the best candidate for the state of California to actually bring our future together, which is prosperity, water, energy, togetherness, which we don't have anymore. If we can unite California, nobody can separate us, and nobody can be a stronger nation than California. Diego Martinez for Governor, DiegoMartinezForGovernor.com. Look me up every Thursday morning. I have Waking Up California on Facebook Live and Instagram at 9 a.m. where you can come on and ask any questions. I invite everybody. This isn't about politics. It's not about parties. It's about our human rights that we're losing every day. Thank you. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate being back here with you.
Thank you. All right, that's it, Diego. I will talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you at 5 o'clock with candidate Beatty and 7 o'clock with Daniel Watts. Thank you, Diego.